Will the Roos show up on Good Friday, or will it be another Carlton horror show? Geelong splash the cash. Which big names have fallen out of favour in AFL.com.au's The 25? All that and more on this Wednesday edition of AFL Daily. I'm Nat Edwards, it's April 1 and I'm joined by Damian Barrett and Riley Beveridge. Welcome to you both in this Easter week, or the lead up to Easter. Damo, your favourite Easter egg?
Just a plain chocolate one, Dad. I don't need anything to.
Are you dark or milk? Or
I'm milk, but I'm not a massive, as we've discussed on AFL Daily over the last 4 or 5 years, I'm not a massive sweet person. So I have one or two, but that's about it.
I'm going to come back to you with a Damo's dish of sorts for Easter. But Riley, what about you? You didn't know what a strawberry and cream was last week.
I'm a chocolate guy.
Okay, what kind of chocolate are we after?
I like Cadbury, dairy milk. I'm a Cadbury Easter guy. I'm not really too fussed on the Lindt or the Haigs or anything like that. Just give me Cadbury.
What's your go-to again, Nat?
I love Maltesers. So you can get a Malteser bunny, which is absolutely divine, or anything with caramel in it. Anyway, enough talk about Easter egg chocolates. There's plenty of chocolates coming our way this Easter round. I want to start by talking about the Good Friday clash, because Damo, in my, and maybe it's recency bias, but in my view, this is the most significant Good Friday clash between North Melbourne and Carlton in the history of this marquee time slot.
Yeah, it is, Nat, and you could even say it's the most important game for Alistair Clarkson, and that might be said every week for the next X amount of weeks, by the way, given North is finally showing some signs of life. But they've pledged and they've promised and they've committed to having good performances on this day now for the best part of the duration of the Good Friday game under their control, and they have failed and embarrassed themselves and been humiliated regularly on this particular occasion. They've only had the one win in it. It was way back in 2018 against St Kilda, and even just rattling off 4 of the last 5 results where they've lost to Carlton by 82-70, and then prior to that there was Western Bulldogs losses by 68 and 128. They're 4 of the last 5. There's another loss in there as well by Carlton by 4 goals as well. So it is a big moment. It has to be taken by North Melbourne. There's major concerns because of Tristan Cherry's absence, Riles, which you'll tell us about in a moment. But you've just got to be better than that with where North Melbourne is right now and with where Carlton is.
Let's take a listen to a North Melbourne coach, Alistair Clarkson, who spoke about their Good Friday performances to date.
I think it's great that this game's on the calendar. We need to play our part a little bit more than what we've done over the last couple of years. We've done a great job as a footy club over the last 10 years promoting this game off field. We haven't promoted it too well on field. So, and that included last week where we were dreadful. So, we want to put on a good show. We put on a great show for the cause.
They certainly do. What they've done off-field, the visits to the hospital during the week, putting smiles on the faces of kids and families who are doing it really, really tough. And that's the perspective, I guess, with the Good Friday appeal.
You couldn't ask for more in that space.
No, you couldn't.
No.
But when it comes to on-field, as he used the word there, deplorable, and that was in relation to, last year's game, that's what they've been. And Riley, I don't know, is it going to get any better? I know that they're facing off against a Carlton side who has been under intense scrutiny this week. But Alistair Clarkson also said in that press conference, Carlton, proud club, backs against the wall, that's when they're at their most dangerous.
Well, you're right in the sense that the context of who they're playing, as it was last Saturday night against Essendon, is why it's so important for them to win this game. It's another massive test for North Melbourne to prove that they're past us questioning them and questioning their rebuild. But as you mentioned, Damo, the last 6 they've lost by an average of 72 points on Good Friday, which is just incredible. I remember the first 3 or 4 Good Fridays that they hosted, and the talk around them was, does North Melbourne deserve this fixture going forward? I think the work they've done off-field's put that to bed, but from an on-field perspective, this is the most important one they've played in. You mentioned they're not going to have Tristan Cherry, who actually does ruck for them, is going to be really interesting because Callum Coleman-Jones came back into the side last week. He was a bit proppy at training.
He was.
On Wednesday. I'm not sure what exactly was going on around that, but he has had his injury issues. Jack Darling had 18 disposals, kicked 3 goals in the VFL, so looked really good. Taylor Goads had the ankle injury. He's no chance of playing AFL footy this week, some chance of getting managed minutes in the VFL, but won't play AFL. Just a name to watch potentially to come in and ruck is Will Dawson. So first round pick, drafted as a key defender, but he has a lot of fans at the football club at Arden Street to be a potential full-time ruckman going forward. I think that's these rule changes that have come in. His leap has made him stand out as someone who could potentially come in and be a full-time ruckman in the future. He had a part-time ruck role in the VFL over the weekend, did okay. I just wouldn't shock me particularly if Callum Coleman-Jones is carrying something and can't be relied upon to ruck a full-time game on Friday. It just wouldn't shock me if Will Dawson comes in and plays a big role in the ruck.
Finn O'Sullivan is he was just amazing. That job that he did on Zach Merritt, but then offensively too, was able to really impose himself on the game. Who do you think he might go to this week if they deploy him in the same way, Damo?
Well, you'd think you may as well back up on the role, given how successful he was last week, wouldn't you, with what he did? So, I'd imagine it's going to be one of Walsh or Cripps, I would think. Although Chera we expect to come back in as well,
Chera's
and whether
back.
North identifies him as going to be the key playmaker for the Blues. I mean, they need some spark themselves, but what you hear about Finn O'Sullivan, Nat, is quite extraordinary for someone just in his second year of footy, and someone who has got as much drive, by all reports, as any player in the competition to make his team better. And the fact he was prepared to be so selfless in that game last week against Essendon to shut down the Essendon great Zach Merritt so convincingly, it's a great attitude to have, and it's a great string to his bow, because we probably hadn't seen the shutdown role, had we? We'd seen the creativity, which he's going to be known for over his career, but already he's got a nice little CV, and he's as important as anyone in that structure now with the way he was used.
And let's not forget, North Melbourne made a couple of key decisions back end of last year. They needed defensive-minded midfielders in that engine room. I mean, they pushed Jai Simpkin out of there. They went really hard for Marcus Windhager, thinking that he could be the player that could be that defensive-minded midfielder. I'm led to believe Finn O'Sullivan actually just put his hand up over the summer and said, I want to be this player for us.
Fill that hole.
And I mean, so much gets said about that draft, and so much has already been said this season on Sam Lawler and Jagger Smith. I reckon Finn has gone under the radar a little bit because he doesn't have the flashiness of those guys. He's just a good, hard-nosed footballer, but he's every bit the player those two are. And that top three in that draft looks like it could be three incredible talents for the next decade and beyond.
And what it will do, even this past fortnight of his learning, allow him to, I think, fast track, where he's going to get to anyway, because of the defensive element to it, not just this gifted kid coming into the system, but playing in that aggressive way. So, look, there's as many questions on Carlton too, aren't there, when it's all said and done. We've thrashed those questions out all week. We haven't focused a lot on North Melbourne because they got the win against Essendon last week. But when you just talk about the football side of this game, it's a massive occasion for the Carlton Footy Club too.
Well, what for the loser of this game, what does it mean? I mean, the pressure and the scrutiny is going to intensify 100% for the loser. What does it mean for the coach, though, of either side?
I feel Alistair Clarkson is not into that conversation that both Michael Voss and Brad Scott clearly are, Nat. So I don't look at it from that perspective. As much as I think he deserves to be under as much pressure as any coach going around again, he's got a contract, Alistair, for next year, and I'd be staggered if he's not allowed to be given every single game of that duration. But it is a worry if it is Michael Voss who's the losing coach out of this Good Friday game because of how badly they've started this season. The conceding of 17 of the last 20 goals against Sydney in the opening round, and then the lucky, fortunate win against Richmond where Tom Lynch kicked 2 goals 7, and then conceding 15 of the last 19 goals against Melbourne last week, having been 43 points up at that stage. So their results and performances within those games that are not going to be tolerated. I'm a big believer in Graham Wright, the Chief Executive Officer of the Blues, giving Michael Voss every chance. So I'm not suggesting anything other than he will be given more weeks beyond this game.
Well, they publicly backed him to see out this year, right?
They have to do that right now. They're not going to move on him after 4 matches of this new season, but to then be 1-3, which is what they will be if they do lose this, it's a long, long, long way back.
I think they anticipated this year to be not a lost year or a wasted year, but I think they anticipated it to be tough. I think in a similar vein to how Essendon has undergone a rebuild without saying it's a rebuild over the last 3 or 4 years. I think Carlton's quietly doing the same thing. They've lost more than 1,000 games of experience over the last 2 years. So you look at just last year alone, Charlie Curnow, Jack Silvani, Tom de Koning, Sam Doherty. That's reminiscent of 10 years ago when they lost the likes of Lockie Henderson and Zach Tui and brought in those 4 first-round draft picks in 2015. They were more public about their intentions last time. I don't think they're as public about them this time, but I think they knew it was going to be a rocky year, and they went into the year with Michael Voss going into the last year of his contract knowing that. as well.
So is it unfair then for the pressure to be so much on him when the list isn't probably where he would have liked it to be?
What I would say is that Carlton played Melbourne on Sunday, and they had 7 players at Carlton who didn't kick a ball for Carlton last year were playing in that game. They had 5 more that had played 10 games or less over the last couple of years. So essentially half of their team was brand new. And it was the same identity. It was the same Carlton. It was the same strong start, slow down, fade out. Everything was the same, even though the personnel had changed so much. That's why I think the weight of the evidence is starting to stack up against him.
When you're 43 points up, Nat, you shouldn't lose the way they lost. And then you add that to the 7 other occasions it's happened since round 1 of 2025, where they've had significant leads in the second quarters of matches and then got blown away late. It does mount this type of scrutiny, and understandably so. And Michael Voss is a man who's been in footy as an amazing player and now a 10-year coach. He's had 5 years at Brisbane, and this is his 5th year at Carlton. He knows the way the system works, and he knows he's starting to need to get results.
Well, we will be watching on Good Friday with sort of a morbid fascination, I think, with this game. But outside of football, of course, it is about the Good Friday appeal. So if you have the means and you're able to, then goodfridayappeal.com.au is the place to go for your donations. Just quickly before we move on, just noticing the 25 on afl.com.au and the AFL Live app dropped the April edition now available. You can check that out now, but no players from Carlton or North Melbourne on that list. 4 new faces this month. Now, Damo, I'm just hearing that you didn't get the chance to participate in the 25 for this April edition. What happened?
I don't know what to read into this, Nat. Should I read into something into the fact that I wasn't even asked for my contribution this year? So I thought I was the most loyal contributor to this project last year. I was always first off.
Your man is number one.
I didn't get the email from Marty Smith, or I just didn't see it. So
Okay, well,
I've spoken to him off air. He's not sure if he sent it either. So anyway, we've cleared that up.
There we go.
What I would have done though, Nat, is had Luke Jackson and Harris Andrews a bit higher than where they did appear in the 25. They're the 2. And I might have even found a little space for Murphy Reid.
Yeah, Murphy, I reckon he's coming. What did you think about Nat apparently had some rumours going around saying that she had Nick Watson at 1 to get
not. Those are false accusations. I deny. Nick Watson comes in. He's one of the 4 new faces. He comes in at number 25. He was number 25 on my list that I submitted. I also had Murphy Reid in mind. Josh Tracy at number 24, I think, is a good shout. Ed Richards at 21 and Christian Petrarca coming in at 17. So there's some of the new faces. But Charlie Curnow, Lachie Neale, Will Ashcroft and Toby Green go out of the 25, Riley. I think Curnow...
Will Ashcroft.
That's harsh.
I thought Will Ashcroft was pretty
It's pretty harsh on Lachie too.
No room for those 2 superstars. Anyway, that is the 25. You can check that out on afl.com.au and the AFL Live app. On the other side of this, Geelong splash the cash plus my Wednesday wisdom.
Hey, it's Zach Bailey from the Brisbane Lions, and you're listening to AFL Daily. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
Well, that was Zach Bailey, but Bailey Smith, so a Bailey of a different variety. A big story around him broken on our platforms today by Callum Toomey that Damo, he is getting a bit of a pay rise. So when he came across from the Bulldogs to the Cats at the end of 2024, it was a 6-year deal, believed to be around the $700,000 a season mark. But off the back of a career best year, they're trying to rework his contract and give him a bit of a pay rise.
I don't say this lightly. It's not a lot of money for someone who performed the way he did last year. Second in the North. The best and fairest was the AFL Coaches Association Player of the Year and stood up pretty much every game he played, apart from, like a lot of teammates, the main one that came right at the end of the year in the grand final. But he wasn't on his own there. But yeah, I was surprised to see that was a number attached to that deal. I thought it was more. I say that because we've now seen players get $2 million a year and 56 of them, I think it was a number, who were on 1 million more. Yeah. I would argue that he's in one of the 56 on what he produced last year and 100%. What he started to produce already in 2026. So I think it's a smart play by the Cats just to keep him happy and to not have it in the back of his mind, hey, I'm playing better than what my money's worth here. And I think it's just smart business, not for the first time by the Geelong Footy Club.
And you got to think of the context around when he signed at Geelong, coming off the back of the ACL.
Yeah.
There was obviously that question mark around him, which might have been the reason for the lower price price tag initially, but as you said, smart work. And a lot of clubs do this. They notice players are playing above their contract, and just to keep them satisfied and to make sure there's no issues when they do ultimately come out of contract, they do bump up their wage.
And I think that point you've raised, Rolls, is pertinent because Zach Merritt feels he's on a whole lot less more than he should be on. Now, again, he's just chosen, as Bailey has done with Geelong, to sign a contract with Essendon. But what Zach got in the past 3 years of just extraordinary performances for Essendon is so far beneath what the players of his who are far less calibred than him are getting. So, yeah. This has eliminated or potentially eliminated that from a Bailey Smith perspective.
Everyone wants to feel valued at their club, and sometimes that does mean show me the money, to quote Jerry Maguire. Now, Getable's the place for all of our contract and draft and trade news. You and Cal filmed this morning. What's coming up on the show? Just give us a little preview.
Got a bit of a pre-agency preview. So these have become just as big as free agents now. The players who are 12 months away from hitting free agency, clubs target them to try and see if they can be lured out a year early.
You guys created this phrase too, didn't you? Which everyone in the industry has embraced. The pre-agent.
I think it might be a US term. I think it might have followed from the NBA.
I was going to
claim it.
To you.
Claim it.
I don't like things that we don't necessarily come up with. But the interesting element to this is that I think clubs are now more willing to potentially trade players a year before they hit their free agency year. They might be able to maximise their worth in that regard. And the context that we had a discussion around is West Coast. And West Coast have been to the draft for the last 4 years now, got a number of first-round picks in. They're all starting to play well. Harley Reid, Willem Dersmer, Cooper Duff-Tytler, Ruben Jinby, these types. They're starting to hit their straps. We've seen that over the first week of the season. And it's a massive West Australian pre-agency class. And that's why it's going to be interesting. So do they target a Chad Warner before he hits free agency, and Mitch Georgiades, Trent Rivers, who was dropped from Melbourne this week? There's been some talk around Patrick Cripps' future and whether or not the Blues might try and capitalise on that at the end of the year. So a lot of West Australians. How many of them will be in West Coast sites by the end of the season?
Now, before we get to my Wednesday wisdom, Damo, there's a bugbear of yours at the moment, and that is around the state of origin injuries and the mounting toll that AFL Origin has now started to have on some of our big name players.
Well, just confirmation in the past 24 hours that Paddy Dangerfield won't be playing on Monday for Geelong against Hawthorn, and he's only been seen once this year since the State of Origin game, and he was underdone with that, and there's a calf and maybe other damage sustained from the State of Origin game. We know the names now. We saw what happened to Jacob Wiedering in the game itself, and he's still playing with broken ribs from it. Sam Darcy, I'm sorry, has not been anything like Sam Darcy of last year since the State of Origin game, and we know that he barely trained between that game and the first game for the Bulldogs. He's playing, but he's sore, and I'd imagine he's not going public with anything that's remotely resembling what it actually is, but he is sore. Mitch Georgiades has had some problems. Bailey Smith's had a calf. Sam Taylor's the biggest one of the whole lot. Has not been seen since. Won't be seen maybe for another month.
Sort of had a setback.
8 weeks even.
Could even be 2-3 months away.
2 to 3 months away from now. I knew it was a setback. I don't
think he'll play at least until round 12 at the earliest.
That's massive.
And again, this is a damage sustained in a State of Origin game. And again, we haven't seen the Brownlow medalist play a home and away game since the State of Origin game either. So, as in Matt Rowell. So, Kalachi's done a hamstring. I know he's got a history of it, but I just keep raising it now because as much as anyone, I loved what I saw as a spectacle in this return of State of Origin. The players clearly embraced it, but they're getting paid to play football for their clubs. We know the coaches eventually get their way and everything. And however it looks next year, we will not see the type of game we saw, which was highly pacey and just full on from go to woe. That will not happen next year.
What's the solution then?
The solution is to probably still keep it in that time slot. I don't see any other part of the calendar that is conducive to it.
It's too jam-packed.
Yeah, it is. But there will be the limitations on time management, on ground, and that will affect the quality of it.
I think coaches would prefer, and I don't think this is going to get up, but I think coaches would prefer if all buys were in 1 week midway through the season and it was played then. I think all 18 clubs have the bye, say around 12 or 13, and it's played in that week.
But then all the good players will want to buy.
They're not playing their roles. We've been down that path.
I'm just saying I think that's what coaches are pushing for.
And the niggly injuries that they've all got, they'll be unavailable.
There's no perfect time. I think that we've all come to that conclusion. All right, time to finish off with my Wednesday wisdom.
Hit us.
Just a simple rule: never take the stairs. They pronounce it chupa chup, not chuppa chup. So my Wednesday wisdom, now that I have my own sting, it's very formal this week. Now
How long's that been going on for?
I know, it's brand new. Now, if you are listening, it might be worth jumping onto afl.com.au and the AFL Live app to watch my Wednesday wisdom, because you need a little bit of context around it, but we'll do my best to talk you through it. My Wednesday wisdom is stand tall in the face of adversity, and that's what Brisbane coach Chris Fagan has done. Now, his post-match press conference on Saturday after the St Kilda game, he's gone in for the press conference and, let's just see how it's played out when it came to Fags versus the chair.
What is wrong? Is they all tall people? Oh, look, you can't even see me. Come on, mate. Just get me one of those chairs there. Can you let us stand up and do it?
Clark, literally a few weeks ago, he had the exact same problem as you did. He stood up and did it.
I'll do it standing up. I'll do it standing up. That's okay. That's all right, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah, that's fine.
You okay with me standing up?
Clark did it.
We're on. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Appreciate it standing as well.
I
Like
actually
doing a
don't
midweek
mind standing.
presser. Yeah.
It's actually like a lecture.
You feel like the Prime Minister.
Fags for Prime Minister. That's also another piece of wisdom. But for those who didn't see it, he had issues pulling the chair up to height and he looked very, very short, shorter than he normally is. And I can relate to that. Short people problems. I'm 2.5. That has happened to me a number of times where I couldn't bring the chair up.
You're
but it
still
was
using
very,
the box
very
on some TV
yes,
process, Nat?
Yes, I have to stand on a little box. Even stand next to Riley, who's not that tall.
Oh, I'm 6 foot.
Okay, that's not 6'4". We're not talking like 208 centimetres here, right? Anyway, that's my, Chris Fagan standing tall in the face of adversity, and he did it well. He did it with a smile on his face. So that is my Wednesday wisdom to round.
Needed
things
Dylan
out.
Moore and Conor McDonald to scissor
Oh, too soon, Damo, too soon, but well played. I like it. Thank you so much for listening to AFL Daily. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back again tomorrow with our non-Victorian crew in Michael Whiting, Barat Sundaresan and Nathan Schmook. Catch you then.